So what you gonna do, brother? We about to run wild with a style like no other. So somebody call Brodus Clay mother and tell her Richard runs on the men like Ed Lover and Doc Dre. What Scott say, what they hang on every word like it's something that the Rock say. No JR, but they talking wrestling. We bring the noise with the boys, so we Dalton Castling. So masculine, oozing machismo, mutton chop shop, Gran Turismo. No free throws, snarl hoops and heels. Steve Bras retirement, give you the super feels. Straight shoot, it's real. Drop a pipe bomb, get ready to bull like the Rock's right arm. So stay calm, tranquilo. I'll go Naito and give him Destino. And we know that you chumps ain't ready for the heartbreak runs and the Cuban Genetti. They drop it heavy, tag team it like Teddy. Long go strong with the heat like Eddie. So steady like when Taker walked the tightrope. Spaz like Taz with the mic in a tight choke. Dirtiest player in the game with the eye poke. 1988 Macho Man on a line of coke. These other casts are a waste, they boring. Illegitimate sons like Jason Jordan. And Richard Runz never give him respect unless they going on air with a broken frickin' neck. So bounce like Papa Pump's pecs. Every time they get down, they bound to catch wreck. Y'all don't know nada. They the Okadas. You're the Washington Generals. They the Globetrotters. A whole lot of podcasts in the scene, but Richard Runz running wild is the cast of your dreams. So it seems these two is too sweet. Bullet Club pulling up with schemes to delete. So retreat, we steal, we cheat, but I never lie, I swear on these beats. And these two got some styles for you, but what you gonna do when they run wild on you?
Oh, hell yeah. It's the Big Dog Red Tires. And you're listening to the Running Wild podcast. Because if you're trying to run wild, this is the place to do it.
Do you want to let everyone know that you get it? Do you not want to be a Melvin? Well, then listen to the Running Wild podcast. And if you don't, you know what you are.
I'm the last real man, Silas Young. And if you're any kind of man, you'll be listening to the Running Wild podcast.
Hi guys, this is Mandy Leon, and you're listening to the Running Wild podcast.
This is Sam Adonis, El Seguro de las Chicas de CMLL, and you are listening to the Running Wild podcast.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Running Wild Podcast. I'm your host, Rich. Alongside me, as always, my co-host, Runz.
Yes, sir.
Happy Memorial Day to you guys out there. We're releasing a little late today, the holiday weekend. Ring of Honor ran 3 shows. Honor United began on the 24th with a show in Edinburgh. The second show was in London on Saturday, and the last show was on Sunday in Doncaster. So overall, what did you think of this tour, and maybe compared to like other UK tours they've had before?
I mean, I liked the shows. I thought they did a good job, but I think, I'm not sure if it was the travel or the 3 shows in 4 days combined with the travel or anything like that, but I think by the 3rd show, everyone was a little sluggish or just, not exactly clicking on all cylinders. So that was the only issue. Obviously I understand you can, spread these shows out and keep everyone in the UK for 2 weeks, but so that's just the nature of the beast.
Do you think they should, this should be 2 shows? I feel like a lot of their tours end up being 1 show too many.
Yeah, but I mean, how many times are they in the UK?
Yeah,
so,
true.
You want to hit up as many places as you can while you're there. But yeah, I mean, I think if you only had the second show and you did Thursday, Sunday, or Thursday, Saturday, whatever, it just might have been a little better for the workers. But it was what it was, and that's really it.
Yeah, no, I mean, overall, I think it was a solid tour. I mean, there's never a time where I don't think I watch a Ring of Honor show and I'm like, that was god awful. That never happens. It's just it's either pretty good or it can be really good. But for me, these shows were in the middle. I actually thought the last show overall, and we'll get into the shows, but I thought the last show was a little stronger. I know that you were saying that you felt like they were a little petered out, but for me, the ref bumps that went on in night 2 really kind of annoyed me. I don't like seeing a lot of rough bumps in Ring of Honor, so I just thought it was over the top. It's probably fun in person, but watching it, I just have no time for rough bumps, and the amount that were used on the second night made me a little frustrated, so that when I watched the third night and there wasn't a ref bump, I was like, sweet! And I really liked the show a lot better overall. All right, so let's take a look at the cards. By the way, you guys can check out my reviews of these over at pwponderings.com and rohworld.com. And you can head over to lastwordonprowrestling.com for any of the news, notes, and tidbits. Actually, before we head into the show, Nick Aldis was on one of these shows and ended up cutting a deal with Cody. And essentially, he came out and was like saying that he felt overall slightly disrespected, that Cody didn't challenge him directly, that it was done through Billy Corrigan for All In. So Aldis accepts with the caveat that if Cody wins the belt at Best in the World, because Cody's now inserted himself, he asked for his rematch clause so that it's him versus Skrull versus Castle for the title. So the caveat is if he wins the title of Best in the World, he has to put it up on the line against Aldis at All In. Do you think that's kind of a spoiler?
It's strange if they would announce it here, right? Like put that stipulation in the works when you could have just let Cody win the title in a month and then stipulated it still 3 months before the show. So I'm going to assume no, that doesn't happen. Or they just messed up and said it a little early. I don't know, but why make that match and then give Cody the belt afterwards?
Yeah, that's the one thing that I just. It almost feels like it was just something to say. I mean, I don't think he didn't imply that if Cody doesn't win it, they're not going to have the match, right? That's not what was said. So
right. It was just in case.
Maybe it adds a little, because I think a lot of people are thinking, especially with Castle's injuries, I think this all becomes really interesting, because if Castle were not injured, I don't see him losing it in a triple threat match. I actually see Cody and Marty getting at odds so much that Castle ends up keeping it because one of them screws the other one over.
Right. I think this is another wrinkle in the Bullet Club It's Fine stuff.
Yeah.
That's going on. So, I could see Cody stealing the title from Skrull. Skrull hasn't won, and then Cody cheats him out of it, and Cody gets the win that way. But I don't know. It just feels like a match to add more to that storyline and, just give Castle another win, so to speak.
So now, do you think that with Castle's injuries, there's a chance that he does drop it?
I mean, we're talking about Castle defending the title when, Ultimo Guerrero could be the ROH champion, right?
Listen, man.
We're supposed to buy into that, right?
I'm going to tell you right now, that would be unbelievably amazing. Listen, Taven's got one of their titles. Granted, they have I think somewhere.
I would never watch ROH again. That would be the end of it.
But wasn't
Nope.
Who was the guy that Brian beat?
Not Ultimo Guerrero.
What was his name?
Kobashi?
Yeah, Guerrero's just as much of a legend as Kobashi.
Don't even.
I don't know. Ultimo Guerrero is legitimately a legend in Lucha Libre. I mean, it's not even.
And Kobashi is a legend in wrestling.
Lucha Libre is I just point out CMLL.
Spanish wrestling.
See, just been around since for 85 years. That's not that long.
What difference does that make?
They just brought La Parca back.
Even better.
I mean, this. I'm going to tell you that
you're making my case for me.
You might. I can't wait to see your face when Ultimo Guerrero is holding that title, raising the roof, and the roof
just be the end of.
The roof
blows
blows
the
off.
last time you see my face at a Ring of Honor show.
Come on, he raises the roof so much. Everyone raises the roof so much the roof actually just comes off the Hammerstein.
No.
No.
Luckily, that won't be the main event, so because otherwise I would just leave.
Well, actually, I don't know what's going to be the main event. That might be the main event.
No, it won't be.
It's a TV. I know it's a TV taping, but I don't know if it's going to be one of those 4-show TV
Oh
tapings.
boy.
I think it's a 2-show TV taping because I don't know. It starts at 5, so it could go till 11 and
No
be
way.
5 hours. I'm not joking.
Nope. Well, I will not be there till 11.
All right. Well,
Tell you that much.
clearly I will. Very excited, and then you're gonna have Cody versus Titan. So I think I'm looking forward to that one. Titan's immortal, of course. I don't know if you know this. All right. Well, moving on to things that won't make you violently angry. I guess let's get back to the shows. All right. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. You actually said that because of, obviously there's the Ultimo Guerrero match, but do you think that because of Castle's injuries, are they being exaggerated? Do you think? I mean, he was protected a lot this weekend.
Right, and I mean, I don't know. You really never know in wrestling just how serious something is, but I don't want to say they're being exaggerated because I know, with back pain or that sort of thing, it's kind of just, it is what it is. There's nothing you can really do. So I think they were hoping with some rest and that sort of thing that it gets better. I'm not sure if that's the case. So I guess time alone will tell, but it wouldn't shock me to see a title change at Best in the World. That's one of their big shows. That's where they like to do a lot of these sort of dream matches or big matches for the title. So, seeing Marty or Cody walk away with the win wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, me neither. I still think that there's going to be some issues there, and I guess it's weird because Cody is essentially the biggest heel in the match. It's weird that he would give himself less of a chance to win by asking, he could have easily asked for his I guess he could have easily asked for his rematch.
Unless he's so blinded by his ego that he thinks Marty is going to work with him to beat Castle. This
is why I pay you the big bucks to be on the show. That was great. Okay, I completely buy into it now.
Yeah, I mean, it works in a lot of different ways, and it can lead to a lot of different things. So, them announcing this title versus title possibility has maybe added, the doubt or the questioning that you needed. Oh, Castle's hurt. He's definitely going to lose. Oh, wait a minute. They just announced this match. Maybe he's not going to lose. So it could go either way. And I think that's, a great job by them.
Fair point. All right. So the tour started off with Scorpio Sky versus Shane Taylor. They had this whole bit where the Addiction tried to pay off Taylor to not wrestle Sky and just or Daniel specifically to just take the loss. And in front of the Edinburgh crowd, he basically said that he wasn't going to take money to do this, and it seemed like they were turning him face a little bit there, but maybe it was just for the show because for the rest of the tour, the next night he ends up fighting Toreano, which Yano's kind of some people seem to like him. I'm not really sure why, but Taylor was ostensibly the heel in that match, and afterwards he chokeslammed some officials and everything. And then on the third night, he teamed up with Punisher Martinez and probably the biggest heel in the company, Bully Ray, and just ended up having started a handicap match with the boys. So I'm not sure where they're going with him exactly.
I like that yesterday when I asked you if Shane Taylor was in this match. You told me no, he wrestled somebody else the night before. And I was just like, oh, yeah, I know that. But wasn't he just in this 6-man tag? But, yeah, I don't understand that really much either. Teasing a little bit of the babyfaceness or whatever. It's not like the crowd booed him when he was beating up the security, so take that for whichever way you want it. And that 6-man team the next night, really doesn't make any sense because isn't punishment like kind of fair?
Yeah, I don't.
Like him versus Skrull, right? Like that's been a thing now. Who is he feuding with?
Well, he was feuding
Paige,
with
right? Like, isn't Paige technically a heel? I don't know.
He was feuding with Paige. I didn't really get it. But Taylor versus Sky was fine to start off the show. The crowd was into it because of the in-ring stuff, which I thought was smart because UK fans may not, know these guys very well. So I thought that was a fine start. We had then we transitioned right away to LIJ, Evil and Sanada versus The Addiction. This was fine. Nothing over the top great. I mean, I don't. Sanada and Evil, I'm getting, I guess, more used to them, and I obviously like Evil more than I liked. I can't even think of his old name. Watanabe. But at the same time, like, man, they've really Evil from the last tour to this tour. I mean, on both tours has really been fairly dominant. I'm not sure if that was done purposely.
Yeah, it's done purposely because that's how he's booked
in New Japan.
In Japan.
Okay.
So him and Sanada are, the next big things, so to speak. I enjoy both of those guys. I enjoy singles. I enjoy their tags. So I definitely enjoyed this tour because it featured a good amount of him.
Do they? Is the Paradise Lock? Because I don't watch as much New Japan. Do they use it as comically as they did this weekend? Because I felt like that was a real focus.
Well, definitely not in like 3 matches in 3 nights. You know what I mean?
Okay.
They used it like Ring of Honor used it the same way in every match, pretty much. Like he tied up 2 people and it became this whole thing, and they used it like that on War of the Worlds too. So it got a little stale.
Who was it? I'm not sure if it was Taven or Orion, but I think maybe it was Orion. Had to me the most fun. Like when he got locked in it, like he was really trying to get out. Like where everybody else just kind of seems to wiggle, he was like trying to hop and like hopping on his shoulder and couldn't get out. And that added
it's
little
funny
thing made me laugh.
Because I felt like TK Orion did it the worst because it looked like he wasn't in it. Like at times, like, and then he was like trying to maneuver back into it, and it was like, oh, wait a minute, you could just get out. I'm pretty sure you don't have to put yourself back in it. So,
I liked how I just liked how nobody on the Ring of Honor roster could figure out how to do it. I think that even Tanahashi tried to do it at some point or something. Like, just
I like that element of it. That it's not a difficult thing, but other people can't do it. And then he's like, "Oh, hold on, I'll show you."
But anyway, the LIJ won that match. It's kind of obvious that they would win here. There's no reason for the Addiction doesn't have to win that match. So, but they're still always a solid working with anybody.
I'm curious. Like Evil and Sanada are the IWGP Tag Champs, and I guess maybe like Ring of Honor doesn't have any quote unquote heavyweight tag teams.
Whoa, the Young Bucks
to feed to Evil and Sanada. But I would have liked to see a tag title match. Like Evil and Sanada are winning anyway. Put the titles on the line, just make it a little more meaningful or whatever. Oh, the New Japan tag titles are on the line. But I don't know, if that would work in Japan because Kazarian and Daniels are not your typical heavyweight tag team there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the heavyweight tag team, right? The real heavyweight tag team that Ring of Honor has is Bruiser and Malonis, and they weren't on the tour, so I guess you don't have that opportunity.
Right, and then you don't, the Briscoes are the champions, the Bucks are the Bucks, so neither one of them is just going to have a regular tag match and lose. But, it's just something that would have been cool to see.
I think what would have been interesting is if they had, let's say, Evil LIJ versus the Briscoes versus the Bucks for the and both titles are on the line.
Well, that obviously couldn't happen.
And then you get some kind of crazy ending where maybe like Cody accidentally costs the Bucks the victory and it ends in a draw or something. I don't know. Something weird.
That would be worse.
Bullet Club is fine. It's all right. I didn't mean to make you guys lose. All right, so then we get Tennille Dashwood and Sakai versus Klein and Chardonnay. Chardonnay's been wrestling in Stardom. She's from the UK, so she got a bit of a pop, and Klein and Chardonnay actually ended up winning. As tag matches have been just pretty mediocre. Nothing really fantastic.
And, we've talked about this a little bit, which, this is a new division, and they're getting everyone some character development, some wins, some losses, whatever. But there needs to be some more meaning to these matches other than just, here's a random tag team every single show. It's always like Klein and somebody from the town, somebody who's this, somebody who's that. So, either give her an ally or stop making these random tag matches.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole point with her is that she doesn't want an ally type thing. But
so then stop putting her in these tag matches with Jenny Rose and Chardonnay and all these random people.
I can't believe I keep saying Chardonnay when I'm talking about a wrestler. But I agree with you there. King versus Martinez was pretty good. I think that Martinez works well with... I like the fact that he can work well with smaller guys, which is important, I guess, in Ring of Honor, obviously.
Right, yeah, that was a fine match. Again, I wish there was any type of meaning. Right? Like, they're not, they're not ranked, 3 and 4 for the TV title, or, and that's fine. You have to have these matches every now and then. But, Punishment and King was a cool pairing, and it worked out fine.
Agreed. Martinez came away the winner there. Then you had Aldous and Haskins versus the Bucks. Man, Nick Aldis is so huge, and particularly next to Haskins, that it's like an adult and a child, next to each other in the ring. He's not even that tall. He's 6'3", but he's also just so massively wide that he dwarfed Haskins. It was unbelievable.
Right. He's a big dude, and Haskins is a legitimate cruiserweight. So, I like that match. I like that pairing of Aldis and Haskins. I like that they fought the Bucks. I didn't like that they teased it as a mystery partner.
Yeah. Well, they didn't. It was weird.
At the beginning of the show, they did. They said Aldis and a mystery partner against the Bucks. Or in the graphic, that's what it was.
All right, so...
And I was like, wait a minute.
Wait.
Well, I'm pretty sure they announced
Were you listening?
It was Haskins and Aldis.
Were you listening to the beginning of the show? Or you just
somewhat.
Did you just... Okay, so if you were listening closely, you can go back and listen to it. I think there were some production issues because they would start to... Whitmer started talking about a match that wasn't on the screen yet. And then that happened like a second time, kind of. And then when the graphic for this match came up, Ian Riccaboni actually says, well, we actually have it has been announced who the mystery partner is.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah,
it was
so
just the graphic wasn't updated.
Yeah, this was Thursday night?
This was Thursday at 2 p.m. if you were watching at Eastern Standard
Time.
Yeah,
so I started watching when I came home, and some of it was, clearly skipped.
Oh, yeah, no.
But, yeah, so that was fine. I didn't hear that, so just seeing the graphic, annoyed me a bit. But that was, an exact match that I look forward to on these kind of tours. You have two UK guys, talented UK guys, decent stars, and you put them with the Bucks. I thought that was fine, and that was a fine match. It builds to Aldous and Cody a little bit more, and so that's perfectly fine.
Then we had Yano and Delirious versus the Boys.
This was God.
Well, it's what it's gonna be, right? I mean, this is so at least the Boys got the win, right? And they didn't lose here to Yano and Delirious, who don't need the victory at all. It's nice that they get the win here, and then we'll talk about it the next night. and then they get absolutely destroyed the rest of the tour. So it's just, what are you doing with them? Essentially, I mean, are they really a tag team? But then again, you have a team like Coast to Coast, who for the longest time just got demolished, and then now is on a winning streak after first beating War Machine and then beating Malonis and Bruiser. So I guess you can just have them as the underdog team for a very long time until you get something different.
Right. I don't see any reason why you can't. They have their role. They are the perfect underdogs. So, just keep building that, and then if there's ever an opportunity, then you can roll with it. But, I think a lot of the times when we see guys on NXT or on the Indies or in Ring of Honor, we think that they're all good wrestlers. But, somebody like the boys, maybe not at this point. Maybe they're still in training. They're still the prospects. They're still this. They're still that. Or someone like Dijak on NXT, you got to learn different things. You got to learn different styles, cut the promo, blah, blah, blah. So, I think because they're in these big companies, we look at everyone like they're a ready-made star, but, I don't think that's always the case.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, then we had the greatness of Bully Ray coming out and attacking them, wearing his skull cap in the middle of apparently what was like an 80-something degree day in Edinburgh, in a building that was super hot, and they kept talking about it. I guess they just needed him to do something, with Cheeseburger not on the tour, which is weird, by the way. I can't remember a tour. Maybe I'm just off, but I can't remember an international tour without Cheeseburger.
I mean, I guess it's one of those things where, like, why pay the money to fly him to the UK?
I don't know.
Like, people in Japan like Cheeseburger, so you're gonna send him there. I would not shock me if they requested Cheeseburger, but I don't know if that's the same case in the UK. And you didn't need him to continue anything with Bully Ray. Bully Ray is capable of doing that himself or beating up smaller guys like the boys, and it's the same thing.
Boys remind me of the I'm not even going to forget it. I was going to start bringing up Bug's Life, and I think that's might be a reference. It doesn't even make sense anymore because that movie's like 20 years old. All right, so we had the ROH Television Championship match, Henry versus Silas Young. This was just, Henry's a local, or at least he was announced as being from Edinburgh, so that everybody was super behind him. And it was kind of a theme with Young's matches, I thought, during the shows. It was like he was kind of ultimate heel. He was getting out-wrestled. He cheated, and then he won.
Hendry, right? That's
Hendry, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think I'm pretty sure he is in the next UK tournament. Pretty sure.
Oh, yeah? He's wrestled for Ring of Honor before on these tours.
Yeah, he's
got a great
around.
entrance. His entrance is fun too.
He's in all of those, like pretty sure, like Progress and those. Well, maybe, I don't know. I've seen his name around the UK scene, so I know he's not just a nobody. And that was a fine match, but he wasn't going to win, and we know my love for Silas Young is not all that high.
Well, he's a real man, so I was supported it here. Then you had the ROH six-man title championship match. Tanahashi, Lethal, and Castle versus the Kingdom. So this was originally not a title match. And personally, I think that if you keep it not a title match, then there's a little bit more, hey, these guys could win, right? And instead, you make it a title match. Castle's injured. There's a ref bump. Evil basically destroys Castle, taking him out of the match.
Hold on. You talked about at the beginning of this show how Evil and Sanada fought the addiction, correct?
Yeah.
Then how later in this same exact show is Evil or Sanada in the four-way?
No, he's not in the match. No. Is that? No, that's the next night you're thinking.
What match are you talking about?
Right now I'm talking about the six-man title match. Tanahashi, Lethal, and Castle versus the Kingdom.
I don't know where I was for that one.
Yeah, so there was a rough bump. Evil comes down, beats up Castle, setting them up for the next night. And, then you had basically Tanahashi and Lethal left. And then the Kingdom ends up using the cane on Lethal and then hit Rockstar Supernova to win the match. You had this also setting up the Taven Lethal one-on-one for the last night. So I didn't love the match per se, but I think that in having Evil attack Castle so that Castle's even more injured to the UK crowd, and then setting up the other match, I thought that was smart overall. I just could have done without the ref bump, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I really don't know how I missed this one or how I skipped over it. So, yeah, I can't really speak on the actual quality of the match. But, when they have the six-man tags, at least they're matching up guys based on, a match that's going to happen in a night or two, which is always a little more acceptable to me because, that makes sense and it adds intrigue and that sort of thing.
And then the last match was Briscoes versus Cody and Paige for the tag titles. I don't know, man. I never thought that Cody and Paige really were going to win. And I feel like that's on the last tour. They had the Briscoes in a title match versus I'm blanking right now. But it was obvious that they were, Mercy Machine Guns. And it's like it would work okay as a semifinal, as the second to last match, but when it's the main event, I just didn't feel like there was any chance that Cody and Paige could win. It was a fine match, but I just never was into any of the near falls.
Right, and you need to have that suspension of belief, or you want to have that in the main event. You want to be able to not know who's going to win before the match even starts. And yeah, I'm with you. You had to think that Cody and Paige were not about to win the tag titles there. Just no real need for it. Cool match. However, yeah, I'm with you. It doesn't need to be the main event here. But, they're handicapped a little by their world title, by their champion being injured. And I don't think that Silas Young is the guy that you put in the main event. So, it is what it is. They have their championship in the main event, but just, not the ones that we're used to seeing.
Fair. So night 2 is from London. The first match here they split the Briscoes up. So you got Mark versus Jay Lethal to start the show off. And and now that they've been in a tag team, seeing them separate, I know that I've seen them fighting singles in the past, but when they've been part of a tag team for so long, or a six-man when they were with Bully Ray, it's kind of a little bit of a treat to see them separately. And I thought that Briscoe versus Lethal was a good match to start the card off.
Right, and it definitely is a welcome sight to see them separate, like you said, after this time in the tag. And you forget, just kind of how good they are.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Singles-wise, and, I love Jay Briscoe, beyond words. And Mark has always just kind of been, the undercard guy who's just going to have a solid match and do some crazy stuff. But, not seeing it in every show, it makes it a little more enjoyable. So I'm right there with you. I love seeing the Briscoes and singles on this show. And then the next night I was sitting there like, all right, I hope they lose the tag titles so that we can get another angry Jay Briscoe singles run, or Mark fighting for the TV title, those sorts of things.
And what I liked is also that they sold basically that Briscoe's knee was hurt, so he went for his move, and his knee gave out, so Lethal hit the lethal injection. So I like the little things like that. I think it makes for a more entertaining match.
Yeah, I completely agree. Lethal is lethal, but Lethal and Briscoe was a lot of fun and a good way to kick off the show.
Taylor versus Yano. You know what I'm going to say.
A lot of fun.
All right. Then you had Dashwood versus Klein, and here you had another example of Dashwood having an injury. The only thing I don't like here is, so Dashwood wins, which is fine, but she beats Klein, and it's only been the second time that Klein has been pinned. And she sells a knee injury, all right, the entire time, to the point where she can't hit her spotlight kick. And Klein, picks her up for the fireman's carry. Dashwood wiggles out and then just wins the match with a sunset flip. Like, wiggles out of the fireman's carry into a sunset flip kind of position, wins. Like, why, if Klein doesn't lose often, why have her lose to somebody who's injured? Like, shouldn't it, I think it would be better if Klein was injured, she couldn't hit her move, Dashwood wins, and then afterwards, Klein as the heel can go like, if I weren't injured, I wouldn't. Now she can, what is she going to say? You were weak, I had you, you couldn't hit your move, and now you beat me.
Right, and now let's just rewind, take a stroll down wrestling memory lane here. When is the last time you have ever seen a heel playing the sympathy card? That's not how wrestling works. You get the sympathy on the babyface, on the underdog, on the person who shouldn't beat this person who hasn't lost to anyone else. And now she's injured, so she's definitely not going to beat her. Oh, wait a minute, Kelly Klein took a little too long, set Emma up for recovery, and then she was able to catch her off guard with a roll-up. I thought that was perfectly fine. It wasn't the smoothest match, and, maybe the slow motion aspect of the roll-up threw you off a little bit. It wasn't like, out of nowhere. It was kind of like, whatever. But yeah, I understood what they were going for, and I thought that was perfectly fine.
All right. I mean, interesting to have the different viewpoint, I guess, here. I guess you're right. I mean, that actually makes sense. At first I was like, well, I was just kind of irritated by it, but your explanation now makes me more accepting of the match. Then you had I think one of my favorite matches, possibly the entire weekend. And I wouldn't say it's like, it didn't have the craziest spots, but Haskins versus Briscoe, like, you could almost feel that Haskins' desperate energy to try to win this match, and the crowd really into the near falls.
Yeah, I love this match. It was really well done, and yeah, like you said, Haskins being the hometown guy, it just played perfectly into how they booked this match.
It was so, I really didn't know who was going to win this match. Like, at first, when it started, I was like, okay, Briscoe's going to win, right? But then, like, as the match is going on, like, I'm buying into Haskins, and he's trying so hard and he can't get those near, and this was, what I would like to see, I guess, from more matches sometimes. It just really felt, I was really invested in. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, I really like how, Haskins is trying so hard, like you're saying, and then it came down to the end where I forget what happened. He missed his move or whatever, and Briscoe was kick Jay Driller, and then that's it.
Yeah,
I like when that happens, because that's real life. Like, you miss the move, you're injured, you're stunned, you're whatever. And then, boom, finisher. All you have to stay down for is 3 seconds. You could wake up in that fourth and be fine, but that's it. It's already over.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like Briscoe hits that J Driller. I don't know. I feel like in the last year, he hits it like in a nastier way, where you're like, oh, man.
Yeah, it looks really vicious. And, yeah, I think, like, how the guy takes it, like with the arms falling down and the speed at which Briscoe is going, it looks like, like the guy's body just kind of crumbles. So it looks great. It looks vicious. It looks like it should beat you. And that's, sometimes that's half the battle.
Yeah. By the way, I don't know what the difference between UK fans and US fans is here, but Briscoe's coming in the ring and people are getting in his face, like yelling at him, and I'm watching it, going, he will destroy you. Like, you should not do that. I'm not sure what is wrong with you guys. I know you think you're here to watch a show. That dude is for real, and you better shut up. Like,
there's a difference between getting in like Jay Briscoe's face and getting in like Nick Gage's face. You know, like Nick Gage might wait for you in the parking lot, but Jay Briscoe is a little bit smarter than that.
He's gonna attack you with some chickens or something. I don't know, man. Like, that's not cool. Crazy people. Then we got the four-corner survival championship match for the ROH World Television title. You got Tanahashi versus Young versus Sanada versus Martinez. You know, I didn't think any of these guys were going to win other than Young.
See, and that's where I'm a little bit different because I honestly thought that anybody in this match could end up being the champion. Tanahashi is probably too big of a star to hold that title, but I could have seen Sanada holding it. Punishment has been around that title for a while. He could have held it. Maybe it's just my wishfulness to get the title off of Silas, but I was into the match. I was hoping that Sanada actually came away the victor, and unfortunately, he did not. I did not like the finish to this one. It kind of like it came out of nowhere. You know what I mean, and not in a good way. It wasn't like a surprising thing. It was just like, oh well, this is a lame way to end this match. What was a really enjoyable match.
Yeah, no, I mean, the theme of the weekend with Young is like just getting away with the title, which is weird, just because I've seen him at points. They kind of build on the fact that he's a good wrestler.
And for me, like when you're doing that, the weaseling kind of a thing, it works for me if, like, I still feel like you are good. And you don't need to use the Weasley tactics. But once I start feeling like, man, like you just suck, so you got to use those kind of tactics like as a crutch, that's when I start to tune out. And that's kind of where I am with Silas. And it just kind of is, it's always something. The ropes or Bruiser or this person or that, where, it's losing it for me.
Yeah, I can see that. That's a fair point.
I don't know. It could. It's just, my personal opinion, but I don't know. Silas just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, I mean, and on the other side, I'm actually a huge Silas fan, but I didn't like the way he was presented this weekend.
And I get it, the irony, but like, he's the last real man. He's the tough guy. He's all this stuff, and then he just does not act very manly towards the end of these matches. And I get it. Like, that's supposed to make me angry, but I think that hurts his character.
Then we had the Bully Ray versus the Boys. Bully Ray wins. He's a bully.
Sweet.
Good stuff. Cody versus Kenny King. I actually really like this. Every once in a while, I think what occurs here is with the right opponent, I think Cody really just has a good match, and that's what I thought happened here. I mean, at the beginning there was a little bit of stuff where Kenny asked if he won, if he'd be all in, and then Cody was like, "Well, this is the weird part." Cody goes, "Well, if." Fine, I'll let it happen. Only if you don't give your all-in booking to Flip.
Right.
But then he includes Flip in the bet anyway, and basically says, well, okay, fine. So if you win, then both you and Flip are in. Which I thought was just weird.
Yeah, I mean, Cody's confident that he wasn't going to lose. It's just how I took it. And, I get it. Like the all-in stuff is very big and it should be recognized, but I don't think we need someone asking to be all in every single match.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little odd for me, but I like this match. Good match between these two guys. And I liked the...
Good.
I liked the rose thing. He pulled out the rose and Brandy crushed the rose. I don't know. That was that little callback to his time in The Bachelorette. I thought it was pretty funny.
Right, and I love Kenny King. I really have been enjoying Cody since he's been on the Indies, but the crowd just wasn't into this.
Yeah.
Right. So, that was a little like, oh, come on, what the hell, guys? Like, this is probably the biggest name in the company, and a guy, Kenny King, who was just your TV champion, has always been good in the ring, has always had a decent enough character. So it was strange to me that they weren't into it, and I think that's a theme. Kind of from here on out, the UK crowds that we see at soccer games, at Raw, at SmackDown, at WrestleMania, wherever, are always so vocal, singing, chanting, doing all this stuff. That didn't happen at all this weekend.
Yeah, I actually get mad at crowds sometimes. I think this tour was kind of one of them. I don't get it. Like, you guys don't get a lot of Ring of Honor Live. Get into
Maybe that's
it.
the problem. Maybe that's the issue. They don't know a lot of these guys or aren't as familiar with these guys as they needed to be. Maybe someone like Kenny King, they're kind of like, oh, who is this guy? Instead of like, oh, he's been in Ring of Honor forever. He's been on TNA. He's been on this and that, So I don't even know if they get The Bachelor in the UK. So,
That's right. I didn't even think of that.
It's on the American broadcast.
I mean, the amount of British TV my wife watches on Netflix, you would think that there aren't any American shows. She just stops and is like, wait, they're speaking in British. All right, let's go. Press play. And just watches anything. All right, then you had Castle versus Evil, which wasn't the main event, and it was because clearly Castle just really couldn't go to the level that he normally can. We had, I believe you had a ref bump here, Sinclair squash in the corner, Evil has the title, the boys got involved, Castle had a bang-a-ring, Sinclair's down, so he can't win the match.
So with Castle's limitations, with Evil's physical ability, and with Evil jumping him the night before, right? Like, why not make this like a street fight or something like that, where Castle doesn't have to really bump. He's, they're brawling around the arena, they're doing things like that. I just think that could have made the match a little better. I'm with you. I understand why this wasn't the main event, because you didn't really know what you could get from Castle in that type of match or that long of a match. But this is a match that I like to see. Evil and Castle for the ROH title. It's a cool throwback to, as we were talking about before, Kobashi and things like that. So, there's always, it wouldn't have happened here, but there's always that thought in my mind, like, oh, one day, one of these guys could be the Ring of Honor champion, and that would be cool.
Yeah. I don't know. This injury has been difficult to deal with because you realize...
It came at a bad time.
Yeah, you realize how after Bullet Club and Castle...
And if even Castle, I don't even know if you could throw him in that sentence.
Yeah, I know, but he's had some big matches. They feel bigger.
He has, and he should be in that conversation. But for whatever reason, and I've been saying this for almost a year, it's not clicking.
Well, still have some time left. I don't know, but we'll see what happens with the rain.
I think, this is a bit of a transition period with, so many guys going to WWE, et cetera. But I think these kind of shows and having 3 shows in 3 days and that sort of thing exposes that lack of depth and that lack of, real talent that they don't really have on the roster at the moment. If this show was in Milwaukee and they don't have Evil, Sanada, Haskins, and Aldous, then what do these shows look like?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a weird, it's a strange time. They don't have the Coles and O'Reillys and Owens and Zayn. They don't have all those guys. Punk and Joe, Brian, AJ. They don't have those guys right now. And yes, they're building, a few of them. And, that kind of stuff takes time. But it's an interesting period. And it's a tough period when, they just got this streaming service and they have 6 shows in a month. And, so it was a little bit of overexposure from War of the Worlds and now the UK tour. But, it is what it is. And you got to take that for what it is.
Agreed. And the main event was so I don't think I've ever seen this. It was an ROH 6-man title championship match pitting 3 teams. You had the Kingdom versus SoCal versus the Hung Bucks. Have you ever seen that? 3-on-3-on-3?
A triple threat 6-man. I don't want to say either way, but definitely not anytime recently.
Yeah, so this was, as crazy as you're going to imagine with 9 dudes in a match. Again, though, now you have referee bumps. Like, you just had it in the last match, and you don't just have, one ref bump. You have one ref knocked out, a second ref knocked out, and then Cody comes out, and, there is that kind of nice moment. I mean, cool. It's kind of cool where, he slides in. For some reason, he's a ref wearing a bandana. And then 1, 2, and then double fingers. I liked that. But aside from that, I just didn't feel like there was a need for this.
Sure there was. Because you needed to show that Cody was trying to help the Bucks and that the Bullet Club is fine. Like you said, with the ref bump in the last match, it probably would have been a good idea to space that out a little bit. But again, you're dealing with an injury in the last match, and in this one, you're trying to build to your only storyline that is going. So I understood it, but it was what it was.
All right, and then we have that's the end of that show. So we have our last show, the Doncaster Show. You had Addiction versus Kenny King and Toreano. I liked parts of this match. I know everyone knows what parts I didn't like.
I like that the announcers were like, well, every tag team had started teaming in their first match, and who's to say that King and Yano can't be the next great tag team? I thought that's funny. I don't like Good
Toreano.
Point. Great point. Way to make me curious about Yano and King's future. But not. I never. I would assume that these guys ever tag again. So,
I'm just gonna move on. I don't like Toreano. Never will. Not in this setting. Not in this setting. I think I texted you that if he was in CMLL, I think I would love him. I think I'd be like, yes, this is part of the show. But it's not with Ring of Honor. It just, for some reason, it bothers me.
Well, because that's not what Ring of Honor does. They don't have that comedy guy. And, I think that's what makes him... That's what gives him a spot in New Japan and in Ring of Honor is that change of pace.
But see, I like Colt.
People
I like
do
dogs.
enjoy, but Yano is a different breed.
Yeah.
So what is funny and different in Japan isn't necessarily funny and different in America or in the UK. Like low blows and that sort of thing don't happen in Japan. So it's meaningful. But everywhere else, that's a common occurrence, and it's kind of just like, oh, this guy.
it's weird. I like Kikutaro. Like, I mean, I like almost every comedy dude except for
those guys
Toreano.
are funny.
Well, okay.
Like, Yano isn't. It's a different type of comedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Grado, Kikutaro, Colt. Those guys are awesome.
Yeah.
But Yano doesn't really use the comedy. Just the low blows and like running to the turnbuckles and like
So Yano and Kinguin, blah. Then you had Silas versus Williams, which almost felt like the same blueprint from the Henry match, except just do it with somebody who is a far better grappler. And then
again, I liked seeing Williams. I liked seeing Williams in this spot, but it wasn't going to lead to anything else.
Bully Ray, Punishment Martinez, and Taylor versus Castle and the boys. Castle gets taken out. He can't really wrestle, so now him and Bully Ray wrestle to the back. Pardon? Leaving Martinez and Taylor with the boys, which is a mismatch. South African chokeslam, followed by a second row splash, and Taylor, Martinez, and Ray are your winners. Then you have Taven versus Lethal. These two guys I really like. I thought they built up to it. You have... I really didn't know who was going to win here because Taven got shortchanged out of a title shot, but Lethal has been basically saying that he's on a path to defeat everybody who's defeated him in the last like half year or year, where he's kind of like spiraled out of title contention and everything. So, with those two narratives going into it, I was unsure, and I thought this was a good match. I really liked it. I kind of said it often. I enjoy Taven's work, and I love Lethal. A little weird to see him. I'm not sure if this is going to be consistent, but Lethal hit the lethal injection and then went up for the Hail to the King elbow. I thought that was just going to be for the Lanny Poffo appearance. I didn't know that he was going to continue to do that because personally, I like the lethal injection as the real finish.
Yeah, I just wonder if things on being the elite tend to find their way to the light at some point. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious as to whether we get a Black Machismo, I don't know, run or something in ROH where he snapped and Ring of Honor can sell it as him losing matches or however they want, where he just kind of goes off a little bit and he starts talking like Macho Man every now and then, and maybe that's why he's hitting the elbow drop. It's just subconsciously, that Macho Man is kicking in.
Holy crap! I mean, if that occurs, my mind might explode because it just, man. I mean,
the stuff on being the elite is gold.
Can go back and listen.
He's Jay Lethal, and then he just pops out in a random sentence and stuff. So.
And if you guys haven't heard it already, cheap plug, but go into our archives and you can listen to an interview with Jay Lethal where he does a little bit of a Macho Man impression on the spot. So, his Macho Man stuff is great. If they went that way, I would totally be fine with it. Cody,
I think this is why not? Lethal has literally done everything in the company. He's wrestled everyone in the company. Why not give him a little bit of a fresh coat of paint?
It would be unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'd be so excited. All right. Then you had Cody versus Scorpio Sky. Cody Sky got a chance to get some offense in here. So this is another match on the weekend where I thought Cody just wrestled and it was good.
Right. Cody against Scorpio Sky is just kind of whatever. Scorpio Sky is...
Yeah, I get it.
Not a big star. So it was like a waste of Cody. However, I understand. This was the third night of a tour.
Yeah.
And, you can't have Cody against the main eventers every night. So this is a nice way to get him a win. Do whatever after you needed to do, and you just move on.
Agreed. Paige versus Tanahashi. You saw this a little bit before I did. I just felt like they didn't get into the last gear here.
Yeah, I hated this match. Looking before it, I couldn't have been more excited. This was the perfect, Paige against a big Japanese star. This is exactly what everyone needs. This is what people want. But yeah, they didn't click. It was off the timing the whole time. It was a little bit slow. And like I said, this was the third night of the tour. This was 3 and 4 nights. Maybe they were tired. Maybe they were sluggish. Maybe their styles just didn't click, how people expected it to. But it was definitely disappointing. And then the finish, oh my God, like that didn't help at all. The crowd was just silent for a lot of this match, and they didn't really care. Even like on the big spots or the kickouts, it wasn't like, it was like a delay, like, oh, that was cool. Okay. It wasn't anything exciting. So while this should have felt like two big stars, or a huge star and an up-and-coming star, it just kind of felt like two guys having a match. And that was disappointing. The roll-up, and I get the back and forth element, but when you're not clicking and you're just kind of moving in slow-mo, the chain wrestling and the reversals don't really feel like anything.
Yeah.
So when he did the roll-up and the flip and almost hit the ropes, and that was the finish, ugh.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the finish either. I don't understand it.
And seeing Zack Sabre do that same finish and seeing Tanahashi do it, two very, very different things.
Well said. And then last match, you had a four-corner survival non-title. The Kingdom, Marseglia and Orion versus the Briscoes, the ROH Tag Champions, versus the Young Bucks, versus Sanada and Evil, the IWGP Tag Champions. This is what I expected this match was going to be. I thought that all four teams looked strong here. I think the Kingdom, they're showing that they can kind of hang with these other guys, and it doesn't look like a weak part of the match when they're involved. You didn't want to have either the Briscoes or LIJ win, in that they're both the tag champions, so you don't want to have either of those teams go down there. And the Bucks are going to be challenging for the heavyweight titles, and they're going to be challenging the Briscoes, I believe, at best in the world for the ROH titles, if I'm correct. So have them win so they look strong over the other guys. I think it's a smart move.
Yeah, this match again just didn't really feel like it clicked. And it was a little sluggish at times. The crowd, again, was kind of silent. And when the Bucks and the Briscoes and all those guys are in the match, it's kind of surprising. I was hoping this was for the titles, but it wasn't. And, it's the third night of the show. It's the main event, so the Young Bucks were going to win.
Yeah.
It just makes sense to end the tour that way. I wish we got a little more interaction after with, the Briscoes held up titles on the ramp and were like, we still got the belts. I wish they would have went back in the ring and held up the belts or something like that, just to, really cement that this is going to be the match at Best in the World. I think they might have announced it, that they were challenging for them. I'm not really sure, but yeah. So this was what it was. It was fine, but I think it could have been better, and, I'm not upset that it wasn't great, because I understand these guys are humans, and I'm just going to chalk it up to fatigue.
Yeah, see, I actually like the match a lot, so it's one of the reasons why I thought that the third night was actually, for me, the strongest of the tour. And no ref bumps.
Not even close.
And no ref bumps, because I just can't with the ref bumps. So I enjoyed this match.
The ref bumps were annoying, however. I don't know, the lack of crowd and just the not connecting on the big matches, to me, hindered the third night. I know we mentioned this a little bit privately, but I'll just put it out there so that when the Kingdom is listening to us in the car on the way to the next show, TK Orion needs something. Vinny Marcellia can't come out with a mask, a jacket, 17 balloons, and an axe, and TK Orion just comes out in his underwear. Give the guy a jacket, give him a mask, let him hold the balloons. I don't know.
But I thought he was coming out with something. He was coming out with something.
You know, I think he had like a vest. But yeah, yesterday it was nothing. So
and he had the bat normally
just in the
too.
future, they gotta look a little bit more connected. Otherwise, it just looks like two singles guys.
Yeah, I mean he normally has some sort of jacket and a bat or something. I don't know why. Maybe...
So how come yesterday when I mentioned all of this, you agreed and didn't say that he usually comes out with anything?
Because as you started saying like he needs to wear something, I remember now like a flash of purple.
Gotcha.
And
yeah, I remember him with something.
The baseball bat's been a thing. I don't know why. Maybe they couldn't find a baseball bat in England. Like they just had like cricket bats.
I mean, that makes sense.
I really hope they listen and that they respond.
But then he should have come out with a cricket bat or I don't know, a soccer ball. I don't know, something. It just looks strange that here's a guy in his underwear and here's a guy who looks like he's going to war.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, they should do something a little bit more to link a little bit more. I think so. All right, well, so you want to start talking about every CMLL show that happened in the last week?
Yeah, sure, and just the audience can join me and call it a day, and you can continue on with CMLL.
All right, so the first match we had was Cancerbero and Raziel taking on... We're not going to do that. All right, did we miss anything along the way?
Definitely not.
All right, yeah, we figured WWE coverage is kind of a little late, so we'll actually
nothing happened.
Yeah, we'll have a post. We'll do a post Ring of Honor show next week, so look for it not to come out till Sunday. He's already shaking his head. I want to see if I can get him to stay at the diner afterwards and record on the spot. What do you think?
Yeah, sure.
All right, that's obviously a no, ladies and gentlemen. But we will be going to the Ring of Honor show at the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City, where we're going to see Ultimo Guerrero crowned as champion. So I'm very excited to see this. And so until next time, I just want to remind you guys that you've been listening to the podcast that is just too sweet.
For Rich and Runz, this is the host of Ring of Honor Wrestling, Ian Riccaboni, signing off. Be sure to join them next week for another episode of the Running Wild Podcast.